I'm gonna win this duel. Check this out. I tribute my 3 monsters to summon Slifer, the Sky Dragon. I attack with Slifer the Sky Dragon, leaving you at 1,000 life points. Draw your last pathetic card.
I summon Rose Girl and use Snowdrop's effect to tribute Rose Girl to summon Snowdrop and then Hellboard. Use them as Exceed material. Then I detach one and tribute your Slifer and attack for game.
Yep, I think you got me. Wait, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yo, chill. What is up, all you beautiful people? It is I, AkemiTCG, back with the brand new deck profile. Rikkafairy combo. Not Aromages anymore, because I took out a good portion of the Aromage engine, and I will get into that. And also, I went 3-1-1 in an online tournament with this deck. 3 wins were here featured on this channel. The 1 loss was me not having enough time to play one of my matches. And then the 1 draw was, for whatever reason, I got a bye, but it was considered as a draw in the system, so I'll just let it be. So technically this is undefeated. Technically. Anyways, let's go right into it. 1 Aromages Laurel. I didn't really like this at multiples. I felt like it was a little bit bricky at multiples. I'm just gonna put this over here. A little bit bricky at multiples because you had to have more life points than your opponent to special summon it from your hand. So I tend to use this as more like fodder to proc off Aromages Jasmine's effect. I mean Aromases Jasmine. Sometimes I would, have Evil Thorn and Aromages Laurel, and it's pretty good. You normal summon the Evil Thorn, go into 2 Evil Thorns, link up. Because you proc Evil Thorn's effect, you can special summon Aromages Laurel from your hand because you have more life points. Then you can go on from there, or you can activate Evil Thorn, proc off one of the Evil Thorns to get 2 more Evil Thorn. Then you can special summon this from your hand before you link off into Jasmine. Then you link Laurel with Evil Thorn off into Jasmine, which will trigger Jasmine's effect immediately upon resolution. So it could work out, but in my opinion, it came out more bricky than not. So just play 1 of that. Same reason with 1 Aromages Angelica. You need an Aromages monster in the graveyard in order to use its hand effect. And also, if you want to use this field effect, you need to have more life points than your opponent. Graveyard effect rather. You need to have more life points than your opponent, and you need an Aromages monster on the field. So the second effect wasn't nearly as useful. So sometimes when I was playing Jasmine, I was trying to fish for this card and try to get it into my hand as soon as possible because I want to resolve the graveyard effect before it gets, not applicable, because my life points may or may not be lower than my opponent afterwards. I'm playing 1 Erica. Erica is a really good lifesaver card. I can't see myself playing more than 1 because you can only use 1 of its effects once per turn. Literally, each of the effects can only be used once per turn, so it's just kind of good for the buff, but also really good of pitching with Rikka Pedo if you want to extend your plays, if you have another 6. If sometimes you can't target one of your monsters because you don't have a Snowdrop on board, it is another 6 you can go into. So just food for thought. 3 Evil Thorns. Not much to be said about this card. This card is the combo maker for this deck. You need this card to start your combos. Or rather, you need this card to start your extended combos. Not too much to say about this card. You tribute it. Special summon 2 Evil Thorns from your deck in attack position. So you would normal summon this, or you would summon Snowdrop and special summon Evil Thorn to get yourself 3 monsters on the field. That works out. And next card, oh boy, there's some spice in this one. You ready? 1 Har, Generator Boss of Storms. What the heck? Akemi, what are you smoking? We'll get back into this one once I review the whole package. But basically, with the Har Generator Storms, this is the best one because it acts as kind of like a Dark Claw. If your opponent adds a card from the deck to your hand, except during draw phase, you can make your opponent immediately discard a monster, which is great. And also, when any card or effect is activated, literally any card or effect besides obviously Speed Cell 4, Super Poly, stuff like that, you can tribute 2 generator and or spellcaster monsters to negate the activation if you do destroy this card. So this is the Omni Negate. I'll get more into this once I go through the whole package, but you guys are gonna see the power of this card. One Hellbore. I like one Hellbore just because it's sometimes niche when it comes to monster effect targeting. For example, against Tenny, the Vishuda, just small things like that, it could help. But more importantly is the second effect, where you contribute one of your, one plant monster on your field, to special summon this card in defense position from your graveyard. So you can go for the extra rank 8 place if you like, or if you just need more fodder to make more Exceed monsters, then Hellbore is going to be your chick for that. 3 Lone Fire Blossoms. Not much to say about that one. You just special summon any plant from your deck. It doesn't matter what position, and there's literally no restrictions to this card. I can definitely see this card getting semi'd, but fingers crossed that doesn't happen. Most of the time what happens is I summon Lone Fire, and then you thin out your deck by summoning multiple Lone Fires. And why do you do that? Because you can draw other cards that are hypothetically a lot better than Lone Fire. So you usually want a Lone Fire, get all 3 Lone Fires to the graveyard ASAP, and then you can set up for whatever play you want to make for that turn, or even for the future. One Mardell. I didn't have this in the last video, and I realized that was a huge mistake. Mardell is just so good. You can grab it off of Aromages Jasmine. You can special summon it off of Lone Fire. And Mardell, every time she's summoned, unless its effects are negated, obviously, with maybe Kanzashi, every time she's special summoned, you can add any plant or generated card, or big brain here, right, from your deck to your hand. So with Rikka Tranquility, if you're reviving one of your old cards and you tribute a plant monster, you can summon Mardell to further plus and get another plant from your deck to your hand for the turn after, or maybe an Erica if you need some extra protection. It's just a really good card. It is a brick in hand though if you don't have any way to summon it, including Snowdrop, but that's kind of the sacrifice you have to take, or you have to make when playing this deck, because you're playing a lot of not gonna lie, bricky cards. It's a little bit tricky to play, and this is the combo variant, not the control variant. So with the combo variant, there is going to be more bricks. That's just how it is. 3 Mudan. I like this card a lot. You special summon it. You contribute a plant monster, special summon it from your hand. So if you need more 6s on the board, and let's say you don't have access to Snowdrop, then you contribute any of your plant monsters, and then you can also add a Rikka Spell or Trap card from your deck to your hand. If this card is special summoned by the effect of a plant monster, so that includes itself, and or Aromages Jasmine, and or Lone Fire Blossom. I think it's just an amazing card. I may in the future cut this down to 2. It's just more preference, just for more consistency purposes. 1 Permula. We're getting Strane soon, and she is insanely good in the sense that if any monster you control is tributed, any monster, shout out to the generator, any monster is tributed, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense. And also you can target up to 2 level 2 plant monsters on your field and make them gain 2 levels. So if you want your Mudan, for whatever reason you want it to be an 8 and you don't have access to Snowdrop, then you can make it an 8. You want Permula to be a 6, you can make her a level 6. There's many options with this card, and it's just literally a free extender that's flexible, which is great. 3 Rikka Petals. This is your best chick. This card always comes back. It's a great card. 1 Rainbow Dragon. I just realized that was out of order, but whoops. 1 Rainbow Dragon. We are still running the Neos Fusion package because this deck has a really hard time breaking boards, and Rainbow Dragon, the Neos Fusion package, literally does just that very well. 1 Rose Girl. This is post Eternity Code. So we have the Rose Girl on deck, on fleek. She always comes back from your hand literally every turn as long as you have a plant type monster in the field. And it's a free extender, so you just play it at 1. You can make synchros with it, do whatever you want with it. It's just a great card. 1 Spore. Because we were playing some synchros, we gotta get some tuners out there. And also, technically it's a free extender in the graveyard. I really wish we had Glow Up Bulb. I would prefer to run Glow Up Bulb over this. I'll explain a little bit of that when we get Strane in the future. Fingers crossed we get Glow Up Bulb back, but probably not happening. But Spore is just a great card. You can make Aurea. So you banish your Mudan, turn Spore into level 7. If you have Snowdrop on the field, you can copy the level 7 to summon Aurea, the Sylvan High Orbiter. and or go into a plethora of synchros. Up to you. It's very flexible in what you do with this card, especially if you have not resolved either Snowdrop or Petal's first effect for that turn. You have more flexibility in what synchros you can summon out with this card. 3 Snowdrop. She is the queen. She is going to be your main playmaker. She makes your 8s. I don't have to deliberate too much on that card. 1 Elemental Hero Neos. Because you are running the Neos package, you have to play both Elemental Hero Neos and Rainbow Dragon or Rainbow Dark Dragon. All 3 of those cards do not have any synergy with this deck, so I can't really see why you play Rainbow Dark over Rainbow Dragon, especially since Rainbow Dragon is Rainbow Dark Dragon is a dark. Next, 1 Generator Boss Stage. There is 1 card in the Generator package that I will explain, but I am playing 1 Boss Stage as well. Next card I'm playing is 1 Neos Fusion. This card is going to be the main bread and butter play for Neos and Rainbow Dragon for hashtag break those boards, because this deck cannot do that too well. 1 for 1. You're getting Rikka Petal. Any of the Aromage monsters, just really depends on what you need at the certain point in time. If this card was at more than 1, then I'd literally maximize on as many copies as this, along with literally many other decks that'll do the same. Just a fantastic card. You literally, this card can win games on its own. 1 Rikka Flurries. A lot of people still say this card is bad, but I think this card is core to this deck. Gives your opponent a lot of pressure on board, especially if they see Rikka Flurries and they have no idea what this deck is capable of. Remember, this card affects the player. So if you are dealing against a card that's literally unaffected by card effects, it'll still die to Rikka Flurries. It'll still get tributed because it affects the opponent. It says your opponent must choose one of their cards to get tributed. And since it's on your opponent, Rikka Flurries will go right through. So shout outs to BLS and Avermax. 3 Rikka Glamour. You want your Rikka cards in your hand ASAP. And this is a good card. I seldom use the second effect unless I have Rikka Tranquility in the field, but really, I mean Rikka Flurries rather. But really just depends on the situation. Sometimes you can use the second effect to tribute a plant monster. You know, you're getting 2 cards off of it. But if you have Kanzashi on the field, it opens up plays there as well. On to the traps. We have 3 Evenly Matched. Oh boy. I realize games 2 and 3, I've always sided this card in 100% of the time, and that's why I'm not running literally the rest of the Aromages package, is because this card just has more flexibility. It's more versatile. This is a competitive build. So 3 Evenly Matched, in my opinion, you know, just does way too much work for this format. I didn't see, or I can't think of a single deck that's meta relevant right now that I would not side this in against. That's how good this card is. And this deck already has trouble breaking boards, so it just made sense for me to play Evenly Matched. Obviously, you have to hard draw it, but that's why you maximize it at 3. 1 Generator Boss Fight. This is the last of the Generator package, so I'm going to explain the whole Generator package for all of you. So I'm playing 1 Boss Fight, 1 Boss Stage, and then 1 Mardell, and 1 Heart. Okay? So here's the synergy with these cards. So Boss Fight, you activate a generated field spell directly from your deck to your hand. I mean, not deck to your field. Deck or graveyard, my bad. I'm like slurring my words, but basically you get to activate a generated field spell as long as it's not in your hand, as long as it's not banished, you can activate it directly. And then your opponent draws 1 card. Wait, why is that good? Akemi, why is that good? Okay, so generate a boss stage. In order for generate a boss stage to activate, a card must be added from the main deck to your opponent's hand, except during the damage step. So since how this works is boss stage immediately activates generate a boss. Boss fight immediately activates boss stage onto the field, and then it forces your opponent to draw a card. Your opponent draws a card, it'll activate boss stage, and what boss stage does is you can special summon any generated monster from your deck onto the field. It has to be from the deck, unfortunately. So you have a choice between Har and Mardell. If you choose Har, you can special summon Har in defense, and then which will activate Boss Stage's effect, and you can special summon as many generated tokens on the field as possible. So if you literally just have boss fight and you set pass for, I guess if you have a brick hand, then it'll activate Boss Stage, you special summon Har from your deck, and then special summon 4 tokens. That'd be 4 tokens and 1500 attack. So it gives you kind of some defense there and a lot of pressure on board, because if you initially do this, they may think you're playing a pure generator deck and not anything resembling a Rikka, so they might try to play around it. But this isn't the end-all be-all if they hit this card. Or you can summon Mardell, and you can search for a plant on your opponent's turn and then get up to 4 tokens onto the field. I generally summon Har because Har is pretty much a brick in the deck. But you're probably wondering, like, Akemi, why are you playing Har? It's not a plant. It's gonna conflict with this card. So here's the rub with this card, okay? So how Har works is you have to tribute 2 generator monsters in order to negate the activation. Is activation? Is activation? Yeah, negate the activation of a card or an effect. So how this works is you have to tribute 2 generator cards. You can choose to tribute 2 of your tokens, right? Which is ideally the optimal play. In generators, it just makes more sense to tribute the 2 tokens. But if you have Petal in the graveyard and you want to make a play next turn, tribute your Har and tribute 1 of your tokens. Because during the end phase, the boss stage says, during the end phase, the tokens will die. And since it's still the end phase, after the tokens are dead, you can special summon Rikka Petal back, because there's no plants on the field. Also, if you, let's say like you have Snowdrop and Lonefire, you can go Snowdrop, Lonefire into Mardell. Mardell can search for generate a boss stage or a boss fight. Completely up to you, but at this point you want to get boss stage because you don't want them to get the extra card in the hand. So you activate boss stage, and then during their draw phase, when they draw, you summon Har. And ideally at this point you'd have a Teardrop on the field, and you can pop off that way. So you have 1 negate and a Teardrop, and possibly other traps if they are in your opening hand. So it's not too bad for 2-card combo. So anyways, onto the last of the traps is going to be 3 infinite impermanents. This card is amazing in this deck. I mean, this deck loses to Vanity's Fiend and a variety of Floodgate monsters, and also Floodgates themselves. So if you set them where Floodgate is, then you can kind of slowly recur and push your way back up with this deck. So I like that card a lot. On Ricochet, I'm only playing 1. I do not like it at multiples because it negates the not even the activation, but it just says you can't activate that face-up monster's effect on the field for this turn. So it doesn't even negate an effect or an activation. So basically only negates stuff that says like, oh, once per turn you can do this. Then yes, the sheet could work. But the second effect does come in handy, but it's a little bit niche. So that's why I play it at 1, because you can also tutor it with Mudan as well. 2 Rikka Tranquility. The card is great. If you want to recur for next turn plays, you can play Tranquility. You can search it with Mudan. I've been considering playing Salvage instead, where you can search for Mudan and Snowdrop, but I like this card a lot because it recurs monsters from your graveyard. It puts pressure on your opponent. Sometimes if you get Snowdrop and let's say Lonefire and they only have 1 attack, then Tranquility does come in handy because they have to pick whether or not they want to kill the Snowdrop or they kill the Lonefire. It's a good surprise factor too. People don't know about that card. On to the extra deck. 1 Rainbow Neos. You're playing the Neos package, so you have to play 1 Rainbow Neos. If you don't know what this card does, you can basically send a monster from your field to the graveyard, then you can shuffle all your opponent's monsters back to their deck. Or if you send a spell or trap card from your field to the graveyard, so including that boss stage that you already used, then you can shuffle all spells and traps cards on the field to the owner's deck. Or you can mill the top card of your deck to the graveyard. This can be ashed. Third effect can be ashed, by the way. Then you can shuffle all of your cards in your opponent's graveyards back to the deck, so which is really, really good for any decks that rely heavily on graveyard and graveyard activations. 2 Jasmine. Just really like this card at 2. I wouldn't run it at 1 just because there's times where I summon multiples, especially since I'm running the Aromages package. It just makes sense to run it at 2. It also protects your plants. Well, rather, this card and any plant monsters it points to, it can't be destroyed by battle if you have more life points than your opponent. A lot of people don't know that this card does that, so it's fantastic. 1 Revert to Anaconda because you're running the Neos Fusion package. 1 Aromage Rosemary. I don't tend to summon this card as much, but if you have more life points than your opponent, all your monsters get a 500 buff, and also it negates 1 face-up card your opponent controls if you gain life points while this card is on the field. That's just an effect a lot of people forget about, but most of the time I use the 500 buff rather. 1 Queen of Thorns. I took out the Sweet Marjoram because I'm not playing any of the Aromage cards, so it just makes the most sense to get rid of or to remove Sweet Marjoram from the deck. So this is going to be the next best option. I will put it in once I get the card. 1 Alsay. Basically, you declare 1 card name. You call it wrong on purpose. It mills the top card of your deck to the graveyard, and then you can excuse me, detach 1 and then target 1 card your opponent controls, put it at the top or the bottom of the deck. So if you outgrind your opponent really hard and they only have 1 card in the field and they're at the point where they're just top picking, you can just simply detach 1, put that card that they set back to the top of the deck, and you go on with your day. If you somehow lock them or soft lock them into only drawing that 1 card because they ran out of resources, you win the duel 100%. 1 Dingirsu. This isn't live if you use Rikka Petal or Snowdrop's first effect, but Dingirsu will help you get rid of many problematic cards, including the Dragoon of Red Eyes, which is coming soon. You bait out the Dragoon of Red Eyes, the first effect of any of your other cards, and then you summon Ding, then you can pop off afterwards. This does come in clutch. 1 Fairy Knight in Gunnar. This card is super clutch. Basically, detach 2 and then return all other cards on the field to the hand, and your opponent cannot activate any cards or effects in response to this effect's activation. So on summon of this card, your opponent must imperm, Veiler, do whatever they can to get rid of this before this effect goes off, because they will die. 1 Kanzashi. Really like this card at 1. It's really good for if your opponent has problematic cards in the graveyard, and you can steal the card from the graveyard and just attack with it, and also becomes a plant. And also Kanzashi protects your plants from being destroyed by card effects. So if you somehow they play Lightning Storm, then you can discard a plant, or you not even discard, but you tribute a plant from either your hand or field instead, which will also proc Kanzashi's effect, where if any monster is tributed, literally any monster is tributed, even if it's your opponent's monster tributed, you can detach 1 and then special summon a monster from either player's graveyard. But it negates its effects, so that's fine. 1 Aurea. This card is non-targeting, bouncing pretty much up to 3 cards from the field to the owner's hand. Non-targeting, it's great. How do you summon this? Basically Spore and banish any of the other 6s to make a 7, and then use Snowdrop to copy Spore's number, which is now a 7, and then you go off into Aurea. 1 Sylvan Princess Sprite. This card's just good. Sometimes you can mill that spell or trap in its clutch, because if you excavate a spell or trap, you can add it to your hand, and sometimes I've added Glamour to this, and that has won me the duel. Also, it revives 1 of your Sylvan monsters in the graveyard, so if you have Alsay or Aurea in the graveyard, you can just revive it, and you can smack with it at the same turn. 2 Teardrops. This card's great. Y'all don't know what this does. Quick effect, because you only have plant monsters under it, you can target a monster in the field and distribute it, and every time any monster is tributed for the rest of the turn, it gains 200 attack. And lastly, I'm running 1 VFD, True King of All Calamities, because you're running the Mardell. If you Tranquility into Mardell and Snowdrop, and for some reason they don't destroy either of those cards, then VFD will do a lot of work, and it will end the opponent's career. You're very fucking dead, mate. Alright, on to the sideboard. 3 Dark Ruler, no more. I realize this card's really good in conjunction with Neos and or evenly matched. This card just works, and against big boards you kind of have to play it nowadays. 3 Mystic Mine. I'm thinking, seriously considering a control build where you're mainly Mystic Mine. I know a lot of people aren't gonna like that, but it's just a really, really good card in this deck. You only summon 1 card at a time, or you play, you know, Protect the Queen. So Mystic Mine's just a good option. 2 Scythe, 1 Sanctum. Probably gonna take these out for something that's good going second, but I do like this card. If you play Sanctum and resolve it turn 1, it's a blowout. That's just how it is. 3 Lightning Storm. This card's good if your opponent's unprepared for it. Sometimes people make boards, you can just Dark Rule no more than Lightning Storm them if they, for some reason, put all their monsters in attack position. Or if they're playing, you know, Eldritch Alta Guides, you can bait out their Solemn Judgment and then Lightning Storm them afterwards. And last but not least, I am playing 3 Dwayne The Rock Johnson Nibiru. It's a fantastic card for this deck and any deck. And you're wondering, wait, what if I leave the what is it? The Rock isn't a plant monster, so you know, Peta doesn't come back. That may be true, but if you want to get rid of this card on your side of the field without having your opponent to get rid of it, you can put Nibiru in the middle, and then when you summon Aromatherapy Jasmine, you can tribute the Nibiru to special summon any plant from your deck. So that's just an option to get rid of it. So anyways, that is the full deck profile. Hope you all enjoyed. Please let me know what you guys thought down below. But before this video ends, I have a special announcement. I'm building a different version of this deck. Check this out. Alright, hope you guys are excited. I've been spending a lot of time with this deck trying to fine tune it to perfection. But I will try a different build of this deck. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be great. I will see you guys in the next one. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Alright, bye guys.